Think about the first video games ever created, like Pong for example. It is simply a 2D ping pong simulation. It has very basic graphics and programming. Next, think about the PlayStation 1 or the original Xbox. These games on those consoles were amazing at the time of their release. Although looking back at the games now, they're extremely outdated in every aspect, especially in their graphics. Look at any of the Call of Duty games released before 2010, and then compare any of those games to the game I play now, Call of Duty Mobile. The fact that Call of Duty Mobile has similar, if not better, graphics and gameplay than the old Call of Duties is honestly mind blowing. You need an entire console and a TV to play those older games, but now in 2020, you can play a better version of those same games in the palm of your hand. Just this one example is astonishing. Now look at the countless other video games from the early 2000s and compare them to today's video games. They really can't compare. Finally, you bring into account the relatively new virtual reality games. These virtual reality games take advantage of the senses of sight and hearing. You can argue that older video games did this as well, but it's nowhere near this to the same extent. Think about it. With the virtual reality games, you literally strap on this headset so all you can see and hear is the game. This immerses you in this virtual world. Eventually, you get a hang of it, and your proprioception only cares about the game and not your body and what we perceive as reality. This is when you can start to get really weirded out. Now think back to what I said earlier about the classic style video games advancing. Virtual reality is no exception to this. This style of gaming is also improving quickly, so think about what happens when VR graphics are just as good as top-notch classic video game graphics right now. This will make the VR games extremely lifelike and seem even more real. You can assume eventually the virtual reality games will also simulate your sense of smell along with sight, hearing, and take advantage of your proprioception. Now fast forward, I don't know, let's say 100 plus years, and assuming that our technological advancement doesn't come to a screeching halt, we will eventually create a virtual reality game indistinguishable from our perceived reality. In other words, a real-life simulation. Also, to clarify, I said screeching halt because even if our advancements slow but don't come to a complete stop, then given enough time, we will reach the point where video games will be indistinguishable from our perceived reality. Now think about the online servers we currently have in classic video games today. Thousands of users can connect to the same server and play with other users all over the globe. Think about what that would look like in the current virtual reality games. It would essentially be our first low-grade simulation. So if these virtual reality games follow the trend that all other video games have, then eventually the graphics will be indistinguishable from reality, and you can connect with people all over the globe and play anytime you please. This is the beginning of creating an entire worldwide simulation. Now this is again assuming that our technological advancement doesn't come to a halt. If it doesn't, then we will eventually have the processing power to simulate our entire world. Now this is where things start to get very interesting. So first, you have to assume that intelligent life doesn't destroy itself. If intelligent life always destroys itself, then the simulation debate ends now. I'm going to be optimistic and think that intelligent life doesn't destroy itself just for the sake of argumentative purposes. So next, we also have to assume that advanced civilizations capable of simulating an entire world or universe would even do it. What is the need for it? Why would they do it in the first place? So possibly learning purposes, entertainment, or some other reason they have that we don't know. I'm not going to dive into this topic too deeply because it would be arrogant and naive to think we would even know what a civilization this advanced would want. Now that is another topic for another video that I'm probably going to release soon about how we really can't know what a godlike figure to us would want to do with their lives. So anyway, I'm going to assume that these advanced civilizations do want or need to create simulations. We also have to assume that these advanced civilizations can simulate consciousness. Consciousness is a whole topic us humans know extremely little about. We're going to assume these advanced civilizations have unlocked the secrets of the brain and can simulate what we know as consciousness. All our brain really is an advanced complex filter that allows us to perceive a version of what we call reality. So it is possible to figure it all out, but we are far from doing that ourselves. So assuming intelligent life can create simulations, what is the likelihood that we are one? So the single base reality is the original world where the real living things that created the first simulation reside. If the simulation is set up like a real world, then it is almost certain that each simulation creates its own simulation. So since there are thousands, if not millions, of simulations, how likely is it that we are the single base reality? Well, if you think about it, and each simulation creates its own, then the odds are we are a simulation since the simulations will vastly outnumber the single base reality. Although, what do all the simulations have in common? All the simulations have their own simulation, except for the last one. So, we are either the base reality that has yet to create the first simulation, or we are the most recent simulation in the chain of the simulations. This seems to be a 50-50 chance whether we are a simulation. But this is assuming that the base reality and other simulations only make a single simulation. If each simulation or base reality makes just two simulations instead of one simulation, then the odds are that we are simulated. Although this doesn't change much about our daily life, we should still live and try to have an enjoyable life while being kind to others. We really won't ever know for certain whether we are a simulation or base reality. Either way, our existence is a very small, meaningless part of the bigger picture, so be yourself and enjoy the little time you have. Thank you.